that could actually hinder your ability to serve in Congress. Are you concerned about that? Did she just sign off? Did she just leave the chat?
All right, guys, we're going to try something a little bit different again today, and let me know in the comments if you actually like this type of analysis. Because this conversation that we are going to look at today between Kat Abughazaleh and Tara Palmeri, I find it particularly interesting because Tara likes to parade herself around as though she is some neutral arbiter of what is going on in the world. You guys might even recognize her name from some of the Jeffrey Epstein reporting, which I thought she was doing a pretty good job on. But the more and more I dug into this interview, the more it started to feel as though it could have been some sort of hit job. Somebody who maybe doesn't like Kat Abughazaleh and decided to use her platform to kind of go after her. So I want to go ahead and just jump right into it because there are a ton of clips to actually look at. But let's go ahead and start off with this clip where you've got Tara herself introducing what went on with this interview. If you guys do appreciate my work and want to support the show, please do remember to subscribe.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tara Palmeri Show. I just had a shocking live interview with a congressional candidate, Kat Abughazaleh. She walked out mid-conversation. I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, guys, super duper crazy. She walked out mid-conversation, never seen anything like it before. Oh, and by the way, she's running for Congress in Chicago. What are we gonna do here? Okay, so for those of you that don't know, Kat Abughazaleh was recently indicted in Chicago for some of her protest activities in relation to ICE, right? And so that was one of the main questions that Tara Palmeri wanted to ask about. And before we go ahead and just jump into the interview itself, here is Palmeri's introduction or, I guess, overview of the charges themselves.
She was indicted for her role in a protest outside of an ICE facility. The charges are serious: conspiracy to impede or injure a federal officer, and forcibly impeding, intimidating, or interfering with a federal enforcement officer while engaged in official duties. The indictment alleges that she and others surrounded a federal officer's vehicle, banged on the hood and windows, and etched the word pig on the side. I wanted to give her a chance to tell her side of the story, so I asked very basic questions: how she's feeling, what happened that day, what the charges mean for her campaign, and whether this could affect her ability to serve in Congress. It's pretty straightforward journalism. But halfway through the conversation, she abruptly ended the interview and walked off. It was shocking and telling.
All right, so here you've got Tara Palmeri saying that Kat Abughazaleh has some very serious charges leveled against her. She's running for Congress in Chicago, and we want to learn how the charges are going to interact or even impact how she might be able to do her job as a congresswoman. These are fair questions. There is nothing wrong with the framing of this interview, but everybody has to remember, Kat Abughazaleh just got indicted. Okay? Which means this is an ongoing case, which means anything that she says in the public eye could be used against her in the court of law. Tara Palmeri should know that. If she is a journalist, she should know that as far as active investigations or ongoing charges go, it can be detrimental to somebody to go out in public and start talking about the details of the case. And she even acknowledges that here by explaining that Kat didn't want to talk too much about these charges.
But of course, I had to ask her about the breaking news. I'm a journalist. Now, she did tell me in advance that she couldn't go deep into it because it's an ongoing legal matter, but she could have just said that. I can't comment on this directly, but I can say and what she wants to say.
So here you've got Tara straight up acknowledging, yes, I understand it's an ongoing legal issue, but if she didn't want to answer my question, she could have just said that and then we could have moved on. Okay, so that's how Tara is kind of framing this conversation. And the last thing she says before she jumps into the interview is, let you be the judge of how this interview goes down.
So watch what happened, decide for yourself, and let me know in the comments Was this a bad judgment call or a politician avoiding accountability?
Okay, so we have Kat Abughazaleh, who has recently been indicted federally, I might add, which means there is an ongoing court case, which means she is going to have to go through all of these legal hurdles to fight this case in court. And you've got Tara Palmeri wanting to know how Kat feels about these charges, how it is going to impact her run for Congress, and so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and see how Tara opens up the interview.
Kat is running for Congress in Illinois' 9th district, and you've probably seen her on her social media accounts. She's blown up. She's a social media star. But most recently, you've had a lot of drama, you could say. I'm sure you're in a state of shock, but how are you feeling ever since you found out that you've been charged with 2 counts of conspiracy to impede or injure an ICE officer and assaulting or impeding an officer while engaged in official duties? And then the charges also mention property damage and obstruction. How are you feeling right now? What's going on through your head?
So I just want to pause it there. There is nothing wrong with this question, right? This is probably a pretty standard, pretty typical question that you might expect from a journalist, from a reporter. How are you feeling about the charges that were brought against you? I've got nothing wrong with this here. I think that this is a decent question. I think it is a fair question. Let's see how Kat responds.
Yeah, I can tell you that when I started this year, first off, I didn't even think I'd be running for Congress, but I definitely didn't think I'd be federally indicted. I've covered the right for a long time. You talked about my social media accounts. The reason those are big in the first place is because of my reporting covering the right. And so I'm not surprised at what we're seeing. It's exactly what I and my colleagues have warned Democratic leaders about for years. And part of the reason that we're here in the first place is those warnings not being heeded. But it is surreal to be the person on the indictment, especially because my name is really long.
So maybe she didn't answer the question directly, how is she actually feeling about the charges themselves, but she does put forward some more information about how she understands the charges in the context of what is going on in this administration. For those of you that don't know, Kat Abughazaleh used to work for Media Matters, and I think she has been involved in other reporting endeavors as well. She had a show, I believe, called I Watch Tucker Carlson, So You Don't Have to. She has done some really good work in kind of a watchdog effort for the crazy conspiracy shit that goes on the right. So she's here saying, yeah, me and my colleagues have been warning about this, that we're not too surprised that this is actually happening, but it is kind of surprising that me myself has been charged. Now, maybe she didn't answer the question as far as feelings go, so let's give Tara Palmeri one more crack at it, or another crack at it. Here she is asking about the charges again.
What do you think about those charges, though? They seem really serious.
Yeah,
Conspiracy to impede or injure an ICE officer, assaulting or impeding that officer.
I just want to kind of put a note here, a little flag of how she's kind of presenting this. These charges are very, very serious. You impeded an officer. You may have assaulted that officer. What say you, little lady? That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting here. She's kind of like blowing these charges up, even though the charges stem from protest efforts of the ICE facility there in Chicago. I feel like she's trying to put a little extra gusto behind the charges instead of really addressing, where the charges came from, why the charges are here, what this administration is doing. But let's go ahead and see how Kat is able to answer here.
Those are pretty big charges.
The charges, I think they're actually slightly different, but no matter what the charges are in the indictment, I plan on pleading not guilty. And this is a political prosecution, plain and simple. It's an effort to criminalize free speech, an effort to criminalize free association, and an effort to criminalize the very act of protest. And so we're going to be pleading not guilty, and the evidence will come out in court, and I fully plan on winning.
So I think that is a pretty succinct answer. right? You're being asked about ongoing charges, ongoing criminal matters, and Kat Abughazaleh comes out and says, I plan on pleading not guilty. All of the evidence will come out in court. I plan on winning that court case. And I think it should be left at that. Considering this is an ongoing court or legal matter, considering that anything that she says here could be used against her in a court of law, I feel like this was a succinct enough answer. You kind of get an understanding. Kat thinks that these are politically driven charges. I would probably guess that that is likely to be true. Whether or not they will be able to prove that in court, whether or not we'll be able to prove that ever, we never know. But this is a pretty succinct answer, in my opinion. But then Tara jumps back in and wants to make even a bigger stink about the seriousness of the charges.
Yeah, just to be clear, the indictment alleges that you and others, quote, surrounded a federal officer's vehicle, banged on its hood and windows, etched pig on the side, and impeded movement. Did you etch the word pig on the side of an officer's car?
I'm not speaking to the specifics of anything that's in the indictment right now, but like I said, I do plan on pleading not guilty, and the evidence will come out in court, and I plan on winning.
Again, guys, so here it is again, very succinct. I'm not talking about any of the ongoing evidence, any of the details of the case. I plan on pleading not guilty. I plan on going to court where the evidence will come out, and I plan on winning the case. I don't think you could be any more clear than that, right? But instead of just letting it go, Tara Palmeri instead says, well, let's go ahead and take a look at the video from the indictment.
Well, let's all watch the video of what happened that day that they are alleged. But when you see that, what do you think right now?
Tara, once again, this is my first time being federally indicted. Like I said, I plan on pleading not guilty. The evidence will come out in court, and I plan on winning. Thank you so much for having me.
I think I would have done the same. So here you've got Kat Abughazaleh coming out and saying, for the third time now, saying the evidence is going to come out in court. I plan on winning that court case. I'm not speaking to any of the details of the case because, yes, this is an ongoing legal matter, and therefore anything I say on your interview here could be used against me in a court of law. So instead of hanging around, I'm just going to go ahead and peace out because Tara Palmeri doesn't want to let this go. She doesn't want to take this very succinct answer and just move on with it. Instead, she kind of keeps on digging and digging and digging, expecting or hoping that Kat is going to give her a more dynamic or better answer or something. I don't know exactly what Tara Palmeri is expecting, but it seems, I don't know, in some ways, this could be taken as a bit nefarious, right? Kat Abughazaleh gave a succinct answer about why she doesn't want to talk about this. It's an ongoing legal matter, what she's going to do in the case by pleading not guilty, and, hopefully she will win the case. But instead of taking that answer and just kind of moving forward with the interview, Palmeri just keeps on hammering on it. 3 or 4 times now, we've had to dig into the exact same question. And like I said, guys, for a reporter who purports to be a neutral arbiter, somebody who purports to be a good journalist, you would imagine that she would understand the pressure and the circumstance that Kat Abughazaleh finds herself in because this is an ongoing legal matter. But none of that seems to be taken into consideration at all. Instead, she keeps on pressing, keeps on pressing, keeps on pressing. Maybe so Kat slips up and says something that could be used her in a court of law. I'm not going to speak to Tara Palmeri's state of mind here. But again, guys, somebody could read this, in my mind, as nefarious. Now, the funny part about what happens next is Tara doesn't even notice that Kat Abughazaleh signed off. Let's see what that looks like.
The evidence will come out in court, and I plan on winning. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Just really quickly, I did want to ask you about just the fact that like conspiracy to impede an officer is up to 6 years in prison, forcibly impeding and intimidating an officer is up to 8 years. Is that like that could actually hinder your ability to serve in Congress? Are you concerned about that? Did she just sign off? Did she just leave the chat?
I found this a bit amusing, but here you've got Tara Palmeri again trying to make a big stink about the seriousness of the charges. And look, I'm not saying that these charges aren't serious. This is a serious indictment. The problem is that this administration seems to be targeting figures like Kat with these really weird charges. I mean, how many times have you guys seen people in a protest surround a car to try to make sure that the subject of the protest wasn't able to leave? I'm not saying that this is the right or the wrong thing to do, but do you know anybody who is getting federally indicted because they surrounded a car and then banged on its hood? I mean, the charges seem pretty trumped up to most observers in this case. And instead of dealing with any of that, Tara just wants to make these charges to be out really, really serious. You must have really fucked up, Kat. What's going on here? You're trying to run for Congress. How's this gonna impact you? And it just feels bad faith to me. It just really does feel bad faith. Now, look, I understand where Tara Palmeri could be coming from in this particular moment, right? She invited somebody on to interview. She asks about this ongoing legal matter, this criminal matter, this federal indictment. She presses on it 3 or 4 times now, and her guest just decides to leave. So sure, Tara Palmeri could be in a state of shock. She could be a bit surprised right now. But then I continued watching this particular segment, and this is where I started to feel as though maybe there was something a bit more nefarious going on, because here she goes on to say that this doesn't really bode well for somebody who wants to serve in Congress.
And I don't know, it doesn't really bode well personally for if she wants to be a member of Congress. She can't really handle some questions. I think probably would have been better just to talk through it. But, you know, if she can't take a few questions about what happened for me, how is she going to handle representing, you know, an entire district?
What the fuck are you talking about? This wasn't about Kat Abughazaleh not wanting to answer or field your questions. This is about an ongoing legal matter where anything said today could be used against her in a court of law. As a journalist, Tara Palmeri should understand this. Why she continued to press 3 or 4 or 5 times, however many times it was, I will never understand. Because this is not about holding a member or a congressional candidate accountable. That's not what this is about. She hasn't even had the chance to go through her court case yet. So to bring her on an interview, knowing all of these facts, and then wanting to pretend as though somehow this doesn't bode well. If she can't answer my question, guys, well, then how the hell is she going to represent her district? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And to make matters even worse, here she says that, well, if she didn't want to talk about it, she could have just told me that.
I thought, you know, she'd be able to also handle some questions herself. Though again, I don't think it was that difficult to ask her about what happened. If she didn't want to talk, she could just say, yeah, I can't talk about that right now. And move on. Like that's just how it goes.
So do you guys remember the clip that we played in the very beginning before the interview even began? She admitted that Kat didn't want to go into the details of the case because it was ongoing. She said that to her audience before the interview even began. And to come out after the fact, after she has been walked out on and said, oh, if she didn't want to talk about it, she could have just said something, even though I think that it would have just been better to talk through it, even though it's an ongoing criminal matter. I mean, give me a fucking break. This is unreasonable. She said before the interview that she didn't want to get into the details of the case, which is the smart thing to do, which is probably what any lawyer would recommend you do in this scenario. You've got somebody running for Congress who needs to go out there and put herself out there, do these types of interviews, and if she's asked these questions about an ongoing criminal matter, Kat Abughazaleh pretty much said exactly what Tara Palmeri expected her to say. She could have just said that she didn't want to talk about it and move on, which is basically what she said. The case is ongoing. I'm not going to get into the details of it. I plan to plead not guilty, and I plan on winning. I don't know how you could be more clear than that. So I want to know what you guys think. I will try to remember to link the video in the description below. I watched through the whole thing, and you know, the real sad part for me is that I feel like Tara Palmeri has done some really good work around the whole Jeffrey Epstein stuff. And to watch this segment, where it seems more of like a character assassination bit or something that is a bit more nefarious than what meets the eye here, it's kind of a bit disappointing. And like I said, I don't know what Tara Palmeri was thinking. I don't know her state of mind. I don't know if she has any personal grievance with Kat or anything like that. But after watching through the whole thing, I just had a really kind of gross feeling in my gut. It just did not come off well, in my opinion. So I want to know what you guys think. If you watched the entire interview between Palmeri and Abughazaleh, I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that Tara was looking to do some sort of character hit job here? Was she trying to just hold Kat Abughazaleh accountable, as she wants to say here? Or was something a bit more nefarious going on? And was Tara Palmeri going back to this question 3 or 4 times, even after Kat said that she wasn't going to dig into the details of the case? Is that something that we should expect a reasonable journalist to do, especially because this is an ongoing criminal matter? I want to hear from you guys. So I will leave it there for now, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Let me know also if you enjoy this type of analysis, if you get any value from this type of thing. And I will leave it there for now. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We've got to build something here on the left that pushes back against this authoritarian takeover that is underway right before our very eyes. So if you do like what I do here, please do remember to smash that subscribe button. If you guys want to go a step above and beyond that and actually help me produce these videos, you can become a member right here on YouTube for as little as $3 a month, or you can head over to politiscape.substack.com where you can have my content delivered directly to your inbox every single day, without the doom scrolling, without the algorithms. And the cool part about Substack, guys, is I own the data over there. So if Trump and his administration decides they want to start going after these platforms, I would have a way to reach you over there. So until next one, guys, everybody keep your chin up. Hope you're all doing well out there, and I'll see you on the next one.